they're going to have special markings on them. For these here, we have those little pink triangles. In order to know that lines are truly parallel, they have to be marked that way, or we can prove them that way. We have our transversal vocabulary word. It cuts across. Okay, so the angular relationships we're doing today only work if our lines are parallel. Good? So parallel lines. Lie on the same plane, lie in the same direction. They never intersect. Okay, should just be, oh. Is that going to your next page too?
Yeah, that's it, but there was still more on that page.
I know, that's why I didn't see it.
And then you can also do the scroll.
Scroll right here. Okay.
I'm so pretty.
So here we have our parallel lines. PQ parallel to RS. Transversal, we just talked about that. It's a line that intersects two or more lines. It's on the same plane, but it's intersecting. Skew lines, those are lines, they're never going to intersect. So if we have, sorry, skew lines do intersect. Parallels never intersect. So marker.
Wait,
No.
The marker is here, and they just want to change colors.
Okay, so my own marker? All right, okay. So skew lines intersect. If we have lines like this, it might look like they're never going to intersect. If they keep on going, they're going to cross at some point. Parallel lines never intersect. Skew lines eventually they do, but they're not necessarily going to be on that plane that we're looking at. Okay, guys? Next page. Arrow. Awesome. Okay, here's our angle relationships we're going to be looking at. Exterior angle. If we have exterior angles, that just means they're going to be on the outside of our parallel lines. So if we're looking at these, our exterior angles are 1, 2, 7, 8. They're outside of those lines. Do we see that? Exterior. Our interior angles, 3, 4, 5, and 6. They're inside. They're in between these two lines. We said the whole idea of exterior meaning outside, interior meaning inside. Consecutive interior angles. They're on the same side. They're like kind of next to each other. We're not talking consecutive like if we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4. We're talking consecutive meaning if I'm going to go around right here, they're lying in between there on the same side. Alternate exterior angles. We know what alternate means, right? We're going to flip-flop. We're going to like take turns. If you look at your transversal, kind of a line. Pretend it's straight. If we're looking at our alternate exterior angles, alternate meaning we're going to have one on one side and one on the other side. It's going to flip-flop. And exterior, they're going to be on the outside. So if we look at 1 and 7, they're both on the outside, and they're on alternate sides of this transversal, meaning they flip-flop with each other. 4 and 5. Sorry, 2 and 8. Flip-flop. They're outside. Alternate interior angles. They're inside of these parallel lines, and they flip-flop. So we have 4 and 6. We have 5 and 3. Do you see how they're flip-flopping across that transversal, and they're inside of those parallel lines? Corresponding angles. They're in the same general position. Our position is the same. So if we take angle 1, if I was to slide down that, it would overlap right here with any side, wouldn't it? Okay, it would just overlap. 2 and 6, if I would slide down line Q to go over line R, they would be in the corresponding, the same position in relation to our transversal. Got these basic vocabulary? Pretty easy. And that's just the words to explain what I just did. Okay? You have all of that on the next page. If we have parallel lines cut by a transversal, now's when the fun begins. Okay? If we have parallel lines cut by a transversal, our corresponding angles are congruent. And we know that corresponding angles, those are the ones that are going to overlap with each other. So if we look at 1 and 5, do we see how if I slid that line down, they overlap? They're congruent. If I look at 2 and 6, they're congruent. They would overlap with each other. And the rule tells us, according to that corresponding angle postulate, that they're going to be congruent. What is congruent? Yeah, equal. They have the same value, the same measure. If we have alternate interior angles, they are congruent. So our alternate interior angles would be our 4 and our 5. They're inside of parallel lines, and they're on alternate sides of that transversal. Do we see that? Max, what's our other set of alternate interior angles? We have 4 and 5. What's our other one?
4 and 5.
We have 4 and 5 because they are alternate sides of that transversal. Well, if we look at 8 and 1, they do alternate, but do you see how 8 and 1 are on the outside of those parallel lines? I want the alternate interior. So they're inside of those parallel lines. Like 4 and 5 are inside of my, 3 and 6. They're inside those parallel lines. They're between the parallel lines, and they're on alternate sides of my transversal. Okay, I'm going to hold on to that one for a minute. The alternate exterior angle. Max, that's the one that you just said with your 1 and your 8. They're on the outside of my parallel lines, and they're on alternate sides of my transversal. My line right here. Alternate sides of that. What's my other set of alternate exterior angles, Brian? I have 1 and 8. They're on alternating sides of that transversal. What else do I have?
2 and 7.
Yeah, 2 and 7. They're at alternate sides. They flip-flop across that transversal, and they are outside of my parallel lines. Are there any questions on alternate interior and alternate exterior? So they was inside and outside and flip-flopping across that transversal. Consecutive interior. It's a little different here. We're still going to be, I like to say same side interior. It means the same thing. Some people call it consecutive interior. Some people call it same side interior. It's the same meaning, just different language. Okay, they're going to be on the same side of that transversal. So do you see my 4 and my 6 that are on the same side of that transversal? And they're inside, they're in between those two parallel lines? Well, our postulate tells us consecutive interior angles, they're not congruent, they're supplementary. What does supplementary mean?
180.
They add to 180. So whenever we're solving for our consecutive interior angles or our same side interior angles, they're going to add up to 180. Got it, Max? Okay, perpendicular transversal. Yeah, if it's perpendicular to one, it's perpendicular to the other because the lines are parallel. You can also think of, hey, they're corresponding.
The other thing I showed them also is with that one, if there's 8 angles that are when one line intersects 2 other ones, there's 8 angles. So if one angle is 90, all 8 are 90.
Yeah.
All 8.
Did you guys see that? And we can just talk about that linear pair thing that we were doing yesterday. And we know that these angles right here would make a line. So that's also going to be 90 degrees. This one would also be 90 degrees. But doesn't that look kind of stupid to have all 4 of those marked? Yeah, that'd be a lot of extra stuff on our diagram that's going to be a little confusing. They only mark 1. But just know that if we have perpendicular lines, it's not just 1, it's all of them. So if we have parallel lines, it's not just 1, it's all 8. There's actually 8 angles in there.
Ms. Sabella, before you start the examples, let me
Yes.
before we forget, I have the written assignment for next week already, the one that will be due next Friday. So since some of the stuff, or a lot of the stuff from today is already on here, if you want to get a head start over the long weekend, so that you don't only have next Friday.
Next
so
Friday.
I'd rather give you a whole. Remember, you don't have to do it. I think I'm pretty sure.
Well, remember, Lily, you have the choice if
You
you're
have a
doing the
choice.
Khan Academy, the online one, or the paper pencil one. Okay, totally your call. All right, so now we're going to be classifying these as either corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, or consecutive interior. I like to say same side interior, consecutive interior means the same thing. Okay, 1 and 9. So first we got to find 1 and 9 on our diagram. Here's 1. I got to step back to see these. Here's 1, and here's 9. What is my angle relationship between 1 and 9? Okay, now we look, we can say they're both on the the same side of this line, aren't they? Okay? So they're not alternating across anything, because here's my line. And we don't alternate across that, so we know it's not going to be alternate interior or alternate exterior. So we're either looking at consecutive interior. Are they both inside? No. They're going to be corresponding. If I would take my line and bring it down, well, that's on top and that's on top, isn't it? So for number 11, we have corresponding. Let's look at 8 and 13. 8 and 13. Do we see where angles 8 and 13 are? Very good. What type of angles do I have? Are they corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, or consecutive interior? Consecutive interior. And remember, some people are going to call it same side interior, some call it consecutive. It means the same thing. Okay, 6 and 16. 16. What do you think about this? Alternate exterior. Why? You're right. Why? What do you notice about it? Yeah, they're both on the outside, and what else? Yeah, they're on opposite sides. If my transversal is right there, they flip-flop. They're on alternate sides of that transversal. Alternate exterior. What about 4 and 10? Who said? You're thinking it, right? You're thinking it? Awesome. Yes, they are alternate interior. Why? You're right. Why are they?
They're on the inside, but
Exactly. They're on the inside. They're in between those two lines, and they're on alternating sides of my transversal. Okay, 8 and 16. Look, I've already written over 8. Let's do a different color. There's 8. There's 16. These ones are in black. I know it's getting kind of confusing with all the other colors over there. 8 and 16. What are we thinking?
corresponding.
Who said corresponding? Why? You're right. Why?
Because they're both on the inside on top.
Okay. We look at 8 and 16. If I slit it down, it's both going to be beneath that, and they're both on this side of that green line, right? So it's on the same side. We just slide it down, and we have them overlapping. 10 and 13. I don't think I've done yellow here. Where's my rock star that keeps saying the answers? She's just like beating me here. Okay, consecutive interior. That isn't on. Okay. Do we have all those down? Guys, get your notes down. Are there any questions on just basic angle relationships before we start putting numbers in here? Okay. Like vocabulary, yeah, it's great. When we start putting the numbers in there and get to the true math, it's just much more exciting. Yes. I know it's yellow. I'm sorry, I've run out of colors. It's consecutive interior, also known as same side interior. Huh? Okay, are we good now?
I'm sorry.
Everyone's still
Did
getting this?
you just ask? Is there going to be consecutive exterior?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're not likely to see that on a test or anything, but I mean, yeah, theoretically,
Yes.
you could say consecutive means same side of the transversal. Exterior means that they would be on the outside, and they even, when you have parallel lines, they even do have a relationship. They be supplementary.
Yeah, we're just not doing those. You good? I love your questions, okay. All right, so what is my angle relationship between 122 and X? They're both interior, but what kind of interior? Are they alternate interior, consecutive interior? Consecutive. And what do we know about, not in yellow, what do we know about consecutive interior angles?
Bring the line down over.
Okay, when we're doing angle relationships with parallel lines, and we know they're parallel because we have our cute little markings right here, these little arrows say, hey, I'm parallel. Now's whenever we have those special relationships where our angles are either going to be congruent, meaning they're equal to each other, or they're going to be supplementary, meaning they add to 180, right? Do we agree? Okay. So these guys are consecutive interior. Are they going to be congruent, or are they going to be supplementary? Supplementary. And that's just, it's the theorem, it's the rule. But we can also look, well, that one's obtuse and that one's acute. There's no way they're congruent. Right? So how am I going to find the measure of angle x if I know that those are going to be supplementary? Yeah. I mean, if you really want to set up an equation, you can. You can say 122 plus x equals 180. Okay, we can subtract the 122 from both sides. And the reason I'm setting up an equation right now, they're just numbers. But soon we're going to have them with like expressions in there. We're going to have equations to set up, which to me is just fun. Okay, so go ahead. 180, subtract 122, what do we get? I'm sorry, B.
I have a question.
Oh, okay. Well, let me answer the value first. Okay, so yeah, x equals 58. Okay, what was your question?
Will it always have to be 180 or like?
How do we know if it's going to be supplementary or congruent? You just got to memorize those rules. Okay, and the cool thing about the rules, are you ready? Cool thing about rules? If we have vertical angles, which we did yesterday, we know they're congruent, right? We have linear pairs. It's a line, yeah. Straight angles, adjacent, yeah. They're going to add up to 180. The three that we're learning today, this one, our consecutive interior, is the only one that's supplementary. If we have alternate interior, they're congruent. We have corresponding, they're congruent. If we have alternate exterior, they're congruent. Okay, this is the only one that's going to add up to the 180, the new one that we're learning today.
Another way.
So
Okay,
how do
but
you know
you
if
can
it's
always,
90? Like
if it's 90, you're going to set the little box saying, hey, we're perpendicular.
If another way you can remember it, and this might even be the reason why some people prefer to use the word same side. Think of the C in corresponding, right? C, congruent, C. Anything that has same side in it, starts with an S, supplementary. Okay? Anything that has alternate interior, alternate exterior, anything with alternate would be congruent. That you have to memorize. Alternate starts with an A. But anything with alternate is congruent. Anything that's same side, which in this case consecutive means the same thing, supplementary, corresponding, congruent.
And that is part of the reason I call it same side. I always tell my kids, same side supplementary, SSS. I think I said that so many times this morning, it was crazy. Like, yeah, we gotcha. All right, any questions on this one? Yes, no?
Instead of just looking at it, is there a way that I can improve to find the angle instead of just looking at it and saying that's obtuse and that's acute?
You don't have to look at it and say that's acute and that's obtuse. I was just saying you can look at this and know they're not congruent. But you can't always rely on your eyes because one of them's 89 and one of them's 91. They're going to look pretty much the same on a diagram, but they're not actually going to be the same. So you just have to look at your angle relationships and know that if you have consecutive interior, they're both interior and on the same side of that transversal. That's why I call them same side. Same side interior angles, they're supplementary. And they're going to add to 180 because that's a vocabulary word. Supplementary means they add to 180. Okay? Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, what do we have here? What's our angle relationship between our 63 and our Y? They're corresponding. And we know they're corresponding. They're on the same side of our transversal. And if I was to slide it down, they would overlap, wouldn't they? And anytime they would slide down and overlap, they would be corresponding. we know that corresponding angles are congruent. Corresponding angles are congruent. So if this angle is 63, we know that our y is 63. And I like what Mr. Romero said, corresponding, start to the C, congruent, start to the C, corresponding, congruent. Love it.
Just don't get confused with consecutive, because that also starts with the C.
Well, yeah,
Don't call it the same side.
I call them same side. All right, questions on these? Brian, you got it? No? Yes? Okay. You would tell me if you didn't, right? Okay, here we go.
Why don't you let Michael do this page?
Did I miss a thing? Okay.
No.
Jumping.
Yeah, these are all mixed in.
Okay. So here we go. Corresponding angles are, you're going to tell me, are they congruent or are they supplementary? Ready? Michael. Okay, if you look back in your notes, they were on your notes. I think on the first page. And that's the cool thing about having notes in front of you, you can always refer back to them. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, then do me a favor, just get the notes copied down, and we can always go back and help you out later on, okay? I know sometimes we have bad days. Just copy it down right now, and I can go back and we can explain it again later on. So, Grant, you want to help me out? What do we know about corresponding angles? What are they? They're congruent. I also like to put the symbol, just because it makes me happy. Now here we go. Same side interior, as we said, means the same thing as our consecutive interior. I like to call them same side because it's the SS, Daniela. Same side interior angles, what are they? Supplementary. See rock stars in here. They're going to add to 180. And what about my alternate interior angles? If they're on alternate sides of that transversal, but inside of my parallel lines, what are they? Congruent. I'm having issues with the marker on the part of my G form, part of my C form. Simple C. Right, questions on these?
So they're congruent, like, and there's like a problem. Supplementary is 180, congruent, it would just be.
Part of the reason I write the little symbol, congruent symbol, it's an equal sign with a squiggle on top. Okay? Look, here we go. They're equal to each other. We got it?
No.
No. Not yet? Oh, thank you. I missed it. These little scrolly thing. Okay. Alternate exterior angles. What do you know about those?
Before you write them, let me you can keep on talking. Just let me, I have to do something here, and it won't let you write there.
Let me get the rest of the scrolly thing then.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. All right, alternate exterior angles. What do we know about those? Well, remember, anytime we alternate anything, they're not corresponding, but it's a C word. Congruent? They're congruent. Oh.
Yeah, because I was still on this.
Yeah, sorry. Don't write yet. I got that. They're congruent. Guys, you can write congruent on there. Okay, linear pairs. We had those yesterday. What about linear pairs? What are they going to add up to equal? 180. And if something adds to equal 180, what's that vocabulary word that we say? Supplementary. So linear pairs form supplementary angles. Okay, they're straight angles. They're supplementary. Woohoo! So awesome. Are we good now or not yet?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, vertical angles. We did those yesterday. So if we look at 3 and our 4, remember they're going to share a vertex and they're going to be across from each other. Okay? They don't touch each other, meaning they're next to each other. They are across from each other. Vertical angles. What do we know about their measure? They're congruent. They're congruent. And to answer in this question from before, we know that if they're congruent measure, they're equal. So yes, as you were asking earlier, if we had to solve one of these, we set them equal to each other. Okay, because congruent does mean equal to each other. Same size. Okay. Questions on these? Okay, now we get to have more fun with more numbers. Well, not yet. Soon. Soon more fun with more numbers. Okay. Mark a pair of angles for each angle pair relationship indicated in the figure below.
For this one,
Let's pick a
yeah, I'm sorry.
I was gonna get a volunteer.
Yeah, I did that last period. I got them to come up and actually write it in, like a 1 and a 2. It worked out well.
Okay, volunteer up here to do our marking a pair of alternate interior. Good luck with this. I struggle with it, but you're gonna do great. Like Robin has shown me at this half good job. Yeah, perfect. Alternate interior angles. No, pass the torch. You want to give somebody? No? Okay, corresponding angles. Beautiful. Corresponding angles. What do we know about the measure of corresponding angles? Are they supplementary or are they congruent? They're congruent. Corresponding angles are congruent, just like alternate interiors are congruent.
Mr. Malad, have you ever heard that it's good luck on football games if you can identify same side interior angles on game day?
I did not know that, but I like that. Come on up. Yeah, he's next.
Oh yeah, he's next. Yeah, he's next.
No. You don't want to, like shine for us here in the class. You're saving all your shining abilities for tonight.
The lights are too bright. It's just too much pressure.
You want to come up? All right.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okie dokie.
Same side interior. So they're really on the same side of that transversal and inside of our parallel lines. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to make one minor correction to this. Minor. Okay, it's okay. No, you pick the right angle. That's not the correction I'm making. You were rocked right, got the right angles. Look at my marking. Do you see I have one little, rainbow? I have one little arc there. That's actually, oh, you can have a seat. It's okay. Sorry. That means, hey, they're congruent. Just like I said, those little arrows right there mean they're parallel. If you have one marking on an angle, it means that it's the same as something else. That is congruent to that. If we look at corresponding angles, one marking, that is congruent to that. Well, what do we know about same side interior angles and the measure of their angles? Are they congruent?
No.
No. So instead of having the single marking, I'm just going to make it a double marking. And that lets me know that this angle and this angle are not congruent. Okay? Are we good? Awesome. Alternate exterior angles. Come on up.
I said it was so they don't want us to have to.
Okay, good job. Alternate exterior angles. They are on alternate sides of that transversal, and they are outside of our parallel lines. And what do we know about the measures of alternate exterior angles? They're what? They're congruent. Linear pair. Daniela, you want to come join us? No? No?
Nah.
I'll help you through it.
But
I'll give you a hint. Ready? Come on up. I'll walk you through it.
but
Too much marching?
yeah.
Yeah. And I feel as exhausted. Okay. Linear pair. Would you raise your hand now? I promise. Try the next one. I'm sorry. I did not see that. Okay. Linear pair. Linear pair. They will be supplementary. They will add up to 180. But, and then make that line. Linear pair, look at it. It has the word line in it. Kind of like a giveaway right there with that line. Vertical angles, I'm sorry, Malachi, but I did not get you the last one here. This one for me.
Oh my gosh.
This is.
Vertical angles. Look, I'm whispering that everyone can hear on my recording. Vertical angles, remember they share a vertex. Okay, and they are across from each other. So notice that alternate interior angles, we had to have parallel lines. Corresponding angles, had to have parallel lines. Same side interior, alternate exterior, have to have parallel lines. We don't have to have parallel lines to have a linear pair. We don't have to have parallel lines to have vertical angles. Actually, we can't have parallel lines to have vertical angles. Or linear pairs, because it's just dealing with the one line. Okay? Questions on just marking these? Okay, 1 and 7. What's my relationship between 1 and 7? Actually, this is on your paper too, right? Okay, go ahead and write these on your paper, and then we'll check you. Okay? So on your papers, 1 and 7. What is my angle relationship between angle 1 and angle 7? I love that you want to participate, Malachi, and tell me the answer, and that's awesome. But let everyone engage their brains before I give them the answer, okay? Y'all got this one written down? Angles 1 and 7? Daniela, you got it? Okay, now let's look at what we know about these. Here's angle 1, here's angle 7. Are they on the same side of that transversal? No. No, they're alternating and they're outside. So they're alternate exterior angles.
That's what I just said.
I know.
Like, you said it was wrong.
I didn't say it was wrong. I said let's engage their brains.
Yep.
No,
I heard wrong.
no, we're engaging everyone's brains. Okay? Because I know you got this, Max, but I want everyone else to make sure they have it too. Remember, as us our football players, okay? If you guys don't go out and practice, aside from coach getting really mad at you and not letting you play, are you going to get any better?
No.
No, you have to play and go practice to get better, right? Same thing with geometry. You have to engage your brain and practice in order to get better. Okay, angles 4 and 6. 4 and 6. Engage your brain and write it down. Huh?
Alternate interior.
What? Okay, want to walk through why? Let's look at 4 and 6. Here's my transversal in red. Are they on the same side of that transversal? No, they're flip-flopping, so they're alternate. And now if we look at our parallel lines, if I cover them up, aren't I on the inside of both of them with my 4 and my 6? They're inside, they're in between those parallel lines. So we have alternate interior. Are we good? No? 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 Okay. Where did I lose you? Which one? Okay, with my arm. All right. Let's see. I'm going to color it in yellow. Ready? Do you see this parallel line right here? I know it's parallel because right there is a marking. What's my other one? There's a marking. I'm coloring in between my parallel lines. Although, albeit not a very good job of the coloring. Really not. There's so many outside the lines, just not great. Do we see how I colored inside my lines? Well, now that I've colored over my angle numbers, if we go back to angle 4 and 6. There was my 4. Here was my 6. Do we see how I colored over both of them? Because I colored inside of my lines. They're inside those parallel lines. They're alternate interior. Interior is inside. Better? Is there a way to erase just my yellow?
You can, depending on how many times you picked up the pen, if you picked up the pen, like if you didn't, even if
Guys, I'm learning new things. Bless you. Look at that. Thank you. Now, how do I get back to?
I feel like
New colors. Let's do blue.
Thank you.
I like blue. All right, 4 and 8. What do we have for 4 and 8? We've already talked about 4 once.
Allison, I see
And now
you.
for my 8. They're great. Good job, Daniela. Why are they corresponding? You're right. How do you know?
because I look back at my.
You look. You know, that's actually a really good answer. I like to look back at your notes. It is a great idea. If you're not sure, use your resources. Look back at your notes. They are corresponding because we know that corresponding means they correspond. They're in the same position. So if I were to take parallel line and go down, they would overlap. Angle 4 and angle 8 would overlap with each other. Right? Rock stars. Y'all are rock stars. And last one, 3 and 6.
Same side into.
Okay? Same side interior, consecutive interior, it means the same thing. I like same side interior just because SSS, same side supplementary, but it's the same thing. I don't know how to erase that. I just scribbled that. It's all good.
What are we on the test that's same side too?
Honestly, I'm not sure on your quiz, because you'll have a quiz next Friday. Okay?
Ah.
No, not,
Yes.
oh my God, yes.
7
That's
angle
like
relationships.
all
Are
I
we
have
gonna have to
learned.
name? Are we gonna name?
I'm not sure, wait, I'm not sure on the quiz if the word is consecutive interior or same side interior.
We're gonna have to name the angle.
It's not just a matter of naming the angles relationship. You're going to be finding angle measures. And we're going to do more with numbers soon, I hope. Okay, are there questions on naming them? Because we can't even start applying and solving if we don't know the relationship. Because that relationship tells us, well, do I set them equal to each other? Are they equal to 180? What do I do? You have to know your relationships first. Okay? Yeah, score. More numbers. What's my relationship between angle right here, 108, and my x? Oh, you guys, make me smile. And what do we know about alternate exterior angles? They're congruent. They're congruent. Corresponding, and it's a C word, I gotcha, but corresponding angles are for the C, but they're congruent because corresponding means they overlap. Okay, with corresponding are congruent, don't get your C words mixed up. Okay, so if this angle is 108, and it's an alternate exterior angle with my x, how much is x? 108. Not
108.
108.
I met 108.
Okay, are we good? Someone this morning who actually wrote 180. They're congruent, they're equal. And just flip-flop them. All right, question on this one, how we got it? More fun with numbers. Okay, we have angle 55. We have angle Y. Look, Max over here is getting this. Okay, so we have alternate interiors. What do we know about alternate interior angles? I want to cry.
You're saying you want to cry because it's wrong? It's not supplementary?
They're not. Same side supplementary, SSS, linear pair. If it's alternate,
It's what?
Oh,
it's congruent. Alternate interior
I'm
angles
gonna write that.
are congruent. So
So,
if one angle is 55, how much is angle Y? 55.
so all alternate angles are congruent?
All alternate angles are congruent. Yes, sir. The only time we're going to say, hey, they add up to 180 is if you have same side interior or consecutive interior or linear pair. You have a question? Andy? No? Discussion? Okay. Did all have this down? Okay, here we go. What we got?
They're congruent. Because they're corresponding.
Are they corresponding now?
No, if they're
Like,
corresponding. that's
Here's
a
my
big sign.
transversal.
Oh, look, this is the one you were asking about.
Here's my
So, did I
transversal.
get it right?
No, this is the
and
one you were asking about
and look.
earlier.
They're both, like, if I would move this down, here it's on top, it flips to the bottom. Okay? Now, we can reason that instead of having same side interior, we have same side exterior. Okay? Or we can just go, hey, we can get a two-stepper here. Ready? Because I know that this angle right here and this angle right here are corresponding, aren't they? So this one's 131 degrees. Do we all agree? Because they're corresponding? And now in my other color, well, I don't need that angle up there. I need my X. I'm looking for angle X. But I know that I have a linear pair. Okay? So subtract from 180. So you got this. Okay, so go ahead. 180 minus 131.
So if you set up like that, I can do the. So if you set up like that, like, no matter if it's like 48.
I'm sorry, I missed your question. I was looking at this.
Set up like that.
I'm sorry, you want the X where? Well, let's solve this one and then I'll get back to it. Okay, so what was our answer? 49. And we had to actually do 2 steps to get it. Our first step we said was corresponding. Oh, I forgot my name. NG. Corresponding angles are congruent. And my second step, we said that linear pair are supplementary, meaning they add to 180. Okay. Now, Malachi. I'm going to go to a different color now. Malachi has a question. Okay. Go with me.
So, say that 131.
This 131
Yes.
Okay.
On the left side. The opposite
is over
side.
here.
Yes.
I'm visual, so that's why I got to walk me through it.
So you can say that X was on the opposite side. And say that the 131 and
Then it would still be, I think I know where you're going. This right here, we would still say 131 because, hey, these two are corresponding. And then I would go step 2 and say, hey, these two make a linear pair. Okay?
So in any circumstance, if
Yeah,
it like that, it would be linear.
Yeah, and sometimes you're going to have to do more than just one step. You're going to have to work through and reason your way through some of these. Okay? I love this one. Is there any way we can get an angle relationship out of those two?
Oh, yes.
On a single step?
Yeah.
Please don't enlighten on a single step, because if I look, there's my transversal. Okay, and I'm on alternate side, but I have one inside and one outside, and I don't have an alternate flip-floppy inside-outside rule, do I? No. They're not corresponding, because corresponding on the same side of that transversal, I don't have a single step that I can do. So I have to find something else out. I want to find this one out later. And I know it's not asking me to find that angle, but I need to know this angle so I can get that angle. I mean, I could find this angle to find that angle, but I like that one better. Just because I get more skills going on in here. So what do I know about 115 and my yellow angle? Okay? It's same side, but same side interior angles are not congruent. What are they? Supplementary. So same side supplementary. Go to right still. Same side supplementary. So to solve for it, I'm going to take 180 and I'm going to subtract my 115. And what am I going to get?
Wait,
180 minus 115. 65. So here we go. That one is 65. Now, do I have an angle relationship between 65 and my y?
Yeah.
They're vertical because they share the vertex. They're across from each other. And vertical angles are congruent. Vertical angles are congruent. So my y, it's 65. So did you guys learn this last year? Because you're doing amazing on this today.